Welcome to the bold analysis. My name is Frank. Ruto, the president, has just released a list of a section of the remaining cabinet nominees that he has appointed to be vetted by the parliament and in order to join the cabinet. And in a shocking twist and turn of events, as some had predicted, the opposition has finally got into the trap of William Ruto. So it means that ODM will now be part of the government. Of course, this is the list that Ruto has released, according to the speech that he has given.
The list I sent to the National Assembly, I have since amended so that Roslinda Soipan Tuya now goes to the Ministry of Defense. The Honorable Aden Baredwale moves to Environment, Climate Change and Forestry. I have now forwarded the name of John Mbadi Ngongo to the Ministry of National Treasury and Economic Planning. Salim Mvuria Mgala, Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry. Ms. Rebecca Miano, Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife. The Honorable James Opio Wandai, Ministry of Energy and Petroleum. The Honorable Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen, Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports. The Honorable Hassan Ali Joho, Ministry of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs. The Honorable Dr. Alfred Nganga Mutua, Ministry of Labor and Social Protection. The Honorable Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya, Ministry of Cooperatives and Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Development. The Honorable Justin Bidan Njoka Muturi, Ministry of Public Service and Human Capital Development. Madam Stella Soy Langat, Ministry of Gender, Culture.
Just maybe to give you an overview, Treasury has been given to John Mbadi, right? Trade and investment has been given to Salim Mvuria, who is making a comeback to the cabinet. Tourism has been given to Rebecca Miano. You remember, she was the nominee for the office of the Attorney General. After yesterday, reports emerged that she had backtracked on the role. She later came and denied, but then it is now true that she has been moved from the appointee or nominee to the office of the Attorney General to the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife. The Energy and Petroleum Ministry has been given to the leader of the minority in Parliament, John Opio Wandai, right? And then the Ministry of Mining and Blue Economy has been given to Ali Hassan Joho, the ODM deputy party leader and the former governor of Mombasa County. The Ministry of Sports, Youth Affairs has been given to one Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen, who is making a comeback to the cabinet after being phased out in the first round for open portrayal and being the face of opulence and corruption in the cabinet. The Ministry of Labor has been given to Alfred Mutua, who is also making a comeback to the cabinet. Cooperatives, small and micro medium enterprises has been given to Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya, another ODM deputy party leader and the former governor of Kakamega County. The Public Service and Gender Ministry has been given to Justin Muturi, who is the immediate former Attorney General of Kenya. The Ministry of Gender has been given to Stella Langat. That is the list that the president has released this afternoon in an address at State House. Now, just a quick overview and interpretation, or what interpretation we make in regards to the various ministerial appointments that have been made this afternoon, and of course the center of analysis being the focus on why the ODM party got itself into the trap of working with William Ruto. Number one, the first thing that we must recognize is that politics is about interests. And in politics, because it's about interests, there is no permanent enemy, there is no permanent friend, but there are permanent political interests. You know, the question that I'm quite sure that if you go to any of the leaders that have been given these positions, or the ones that supported this move, they'll answer you one thing, that I'm a career politician, and therefore that does not prevent me from going towards any political direction that best suits my political interests. And that is why when people are arguing that ODM will not accept the slots, there was a lot of debate yesterday when Opondo Kaluma said that the ODM Central Committee and the National Executive Council Committee had given a go-ahead for its members to join the government. And the ODM Secretary General, Edwin Sifuna, was saying, no, that is not the position of the party. The party leader yesterday, even at night, said that is not the position of the party. But then it was just a matter of when. It is something that, according to information that we have, when the party's Central Management Committee met, they voted in support for the move. When the NEC met too, they voted in support for the move. And those are the top decision-making organs of the party. Meaning that anything that the majority votes for, it is what the party is going to take. Because it is also within the democratic confines of the party to give consensus a day. So that was just a matter of when it was going to be made public. Because as of yesterday, already there was a report of meeting between State House and Raila's camp. You know, Raila had selected representatives to go meet and talk with the president's team on the ministries that they wanted. And among the ministry that they wanted was the Ministry of Health, Water and Sanitation, something which the president told them that no, this one I've already dedicated it to Mount Kenya. And after ODM was reliably informed that this is one of the scandal-ridden ministries in Kenya, then they backtracked on that and they now argued for the Ministry of Mining and Blue Economy, the ministry that has been given to Hassan Joho. So it is about political interests, nothing else. It is just the same way that somebody once said that do not be lied to that there is any government in any part of the world that truly cares about your interests as a person. It's about the interest of the people in government. Your interests will be served when you will be going to the ballot. After that, it is now you sending them to a journey to serve their political interests. The second interpretation of this, you know, when this talk started, people thought that it would be difficult. But then, why did it become easy for the government to support Raila's AUC candidature seat? Why did it become easy for Ruto to reach out to Raila, tell him that I want you to be part of my government? It's still about political interests. Remember, William Ruto and Raila Odinga, these are among the ODM founder members. So it was not hard. Even at some point, some years back, I remember hearing Ruto saying that he was once a member of ODM party. Therefore, there is nothing that is preventing him from working with the ODM party, which he once subscribed to. And just because of political interest that shift from time to time, he was forced to move into a different angular direction to seek a different vehicle in his political trajectory. The third interpretation of this is still on the Raila AUC seat deal. You know, in order for Raila to win the chairmanship of the AUC, or the African Commission chairperson, he has to have a backing of the government. And without the backing of the government can easily come up with another candidate who would go against Raila. So in that event, Ruto saw that since I've been able to tap Raila and convince him that he will be the next AUCC chairperson, then since my government is in turmoil, I'm facing opposition from within and outside my party, then why don't I tap into Raila such that he can offer me the opportunity to run my government? I want you to hear this speech first by Ruto. That was some months just after he formed this government. He denied that he will not work with the opposition and what. You know, those are just statements to hoodwink the public. But then when their interests want to align, there is nothing that can stop them from working to see that their interests move in the right trajectory, in the right alignment. That was it. So that deal of AUCC, Ruto, remember, had internal party wrangles, internal pressure, the muted differences between him and Rigathi Gachagua, the issue of Mount Kenya politics, Mount Kenya slipping away with Rigathi Gachagua, the issue that came recently of the Gen Z's unwavering commitment to send him home. Those were pressures that must have taken him aback. And therefore, as a politician, remember, above all, he's not the president, he's still a politician. Whether Raila is the face of democracy, he's still a politician. You know, that is it. Whether Ruto is the president, he's still a politician. So in the books of politics, he had to make the right political calculation that would give him some time maybe. And that will for sure grant him some time. Anyway, we're waiting to see how it will work. But then, remember, there are three things involved in politics. There is the people machinery, there is the money machinery, and then there is the gun machinery, in quotes. So, in the event that the government had the gun machinery, in this case, in the event that the government already had the money machinery on their side, of course, having inflation positions like the Ministry of Treasury and so on and so forth, having people with money that supported the government to be in power, that was the money machinery. Now they needed one thing that they didn't have, and that is why they were facing hard times in calming the situation in the country, or they were being opposed. They didn't have the people machinery. And that is why, that is something that Raila has been having for quite some time. So he had to tap into somebody with the people machinery. Anyway, we're still waiting to see whether it will work, because members of the ODM party, some of them, a majority reportedly, opposed this move. You see the likes of Edwin Sifuna, the likes of Babu Wino, the likes of Sia Governor, James Orengo, and the general public, members who subscribe to ODM party ideologies, had opposed this. So we're waiting to see how they'll interpret this. But that is the reason as to why he had to reach out to Raila. The fourth interpretation of this, you know, forget about the protests. They were things that just came as by the way. But then, for your information, the intelligence must have reliably informed Ruto of the impending opposition, and even the opposition that was already there, to his government. Maybe he just didn't believe that that would come to materialize. But then after it came to materialize, then it was a time for him to activate the when clause. And that is when they activated the when political interest clause. The other interpretation of this is on the issue of what is the future working scope between the president and his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua. He might be the latest casualty in this. remember, he's been vehemently opposed to the working partnership of the opposition and the government. And that was even portrayed recently when one of his ideal spokesperson within the mountain, Mwalimu Kahiga, said that it is time for the president to reward the mountain again with some slots within the cabinet. And even Rigathi himself opposed some of the people who have made comeback to the cabinet, against making a comeback to the cabinet, terming them as people with kiburi, people full of pride and arrogance. But then that one seems to have fallen on deaf ears, because when we see a majority of people who are rumored to be close to the president making it a comeback, and who are rumored to be making it hard for the president and the deputy to see eye to eye, making a comeback, then it means that his plight must have been ignored. Therefore, moving forward, we'll expect him to craft his future politics, maybe seek an alternative political vehicle towards 2027, because with Raila joining the government and Ruto having the likes of Mudavadi on his side, then if he continues on that trajectory that he's on of solidifying the mountain, which is clearly against the president's political calculations, he might find himself off the Kenya Kwanza politics and might be forced to seek for an alternative political vehicle. So he might be the latest casualty in all this. The other interpretation of this is, what is the feature of the opposition politics in Kenya? Of course, we've seen ODM. Mbadi was the national chairman of ODM. He's going to be forced to resign, relinquish his seat, and then go for the treasury. Joho, deputy party leader, together with Oparanya, they are both going to be forced to resign, And I saw somebody saying somewhere that Ruto is on a project to finish ODM. Maybe. You're waiting to see. What is the feature of opposition in this country? Especially now at a time when the opposition that was there, the Azimio, seems to be clearly divided on this. The other affiliate parties said they are not going to join any type of working partnership with the government. And ODM has decided to brave it and go alone. Is the opposition going to be dead? Is the Azimio going to be reawakened? And is the ODM party, of course, now we don't expect them, you can't expect them to address the government or go against the government, because they are now part of the government. The government will be asking them, you have the power, you have the authority, you have the portfolios. Why don't you make things better? I'm coming to that within some other point in this analysis. And still on this, what is the feature of Uhuru-Raila relations, especially at a time when it is reported that Uhuru had been advising and telling Raila that don't go into work with the government. Don't work with the government. Don't even vie for the AUC seat. Because according to Uhuru, he saw Raila having chances at the 2027 presidency. This was something that members of the ODM were not comfortable with, since their say was that Uhuru had the opportunity to make Raila the president when he was exiting power. So how would they believe Uhuru to be purporting to give Raila the presidency come 2027 at a time when Ruto was just going to be through with his first term as a president and would definitely be seeking the second term? That is an interpretation we should follow along and ask questions on that. And still on this, even when ODM wanted to work with Ruto, even a good section of the Jaramogi family was divided on this. You remember, we had some information of how Ruth Odinga was opposed to this in a meeting and clearly told the party leader, the party boss, Raila Odinga, that she's opposed to the idea of Raila working with Ruto. Oburu Odinga supported this. So there was a huge division within the extended Jaramogi family on what the future working scope is between Ruto and Raila. The other interpretation of this is that maybe Ruto is courting a disaster. How is he courting a disaster? Of course, it is in the public knowledge and public domain that the Gen Zs have opposed this. They are saying they're not going to subscribe to any of this. And if they are to continue with their protests, if they are to continue with the upward trajectory that they've taken against the government, then both the opposition and the government might find itself in an unwanted political corner that they wouldn't find a way to get out of. And not just Ruto, Raila is also equally facing a disaster. And how is he facing a disaster? Just likely, in the event that the Gen Zs continue and stand with their stand, Kenyans maybe don't support this, then the party will find itself at a very wrong place politically. And also, remember that, look at this. What Ruto has done is to transfer the burden of running the government to the opposition. Look at the key ministries here. Ministry of National Treasury and Planning has been given to John Mbadi, a member of ODM party. The Ministry of Energy has been given to Opiyo Wandayi, a member of ODM party. And remember, the current debate or problem that we are having in Kenya is on the issue of the fiscal policy of this country, the issue of public debt, the issue of taxation, and the issue of high cost of living. You know, Ruto tried so hard to introduce taxes so as to enable him run the government because money was not available. They either had to borrow, which our borrowing had gone beyond the borrowing limits, or increase the domestic taxes in order to give or attain some targets. That was even what forced the recall of the finance bill. So if the treasury docket is given to John Mbadi, ODM as a party will be like in charge of crafting or drafting Kenya's fiscal policy. And the treasury is so crucial. The central bank falls under the treasury in formulating this to ensure that the cost of living is within the affordable means. The public debt can be paid. The economy is running and performing in the right trajectory. Same as to the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum. The petroleum and energy sector is so crucial in this country. Remember the taxes, the taxation that a product like petrol attracts in order to sustain the economy. So if this continue to fail, then they shall have shared the blame. That is the danger that that Raila is equally looking at. And also remember the Ministry of Micro and Small Circles and Enterprises, the one given to Wycliffe Oparanya, is also equally still are the same. They are like correlated ministries. The other interpretation of this, you know, in all this, Ruto is playing politics, and since he was playing politics all along, he must have been excited by the recommendations of John Mbadi, Opiyo Wandayi, Wycliffe Oparanya, and Hassan Joho in particular, to be in the cabinet. If in the event that Kenyans accept this is accepted among Kenyans, then the political calculations of Ruto is that he will wade into the backgrounds where these people are coming from. Mbadi comes from Homa Bay, that is part of southern Nyanza. Opiyo Wandayi comes from Siaya, Ugunja to be specific, that is central Nyanza. Oparanya comes from Kakamega, that is western. Joho comes from the coast, that is coastal region. In the event that the people supporting these leaders accept or are excited by these appointments and accept this, then come 2027, he might have it easily walking to these regions and asking them, I gave your son this and this. Why don't you support me in return? All the same people drum up support for him, because now we are looking at a period of less than 3 years to the next general elections. Those slots, the money that comes, the advantages that come with it are so sweet. So they would want to be part of forming the next government in order to continue with the same. Thank you for watching. That marks the end of our analysis.